minute that camera comes on, I'm like, ugh.
But that it's this constantly evolving process, and that you might even get it and lose it and get it again and lose it and get it again, but it isn't necessarily a nice, tidy, straight trajectory.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I think even people think, oh wow, they have it all figured out. With their jobs, they're going to school, they're going to do this, we're going to build a boat, they're going to sail, they're going to have an amazing life.
Yeah.
But here I am thinking, we might not build a boat. We might do it. We might not be able to make the money. We might not like it.
Yeah.
Like here I'm thinking of all the negative things that could happen, everything that could go wrong. But these other people, just by taking the first step, they're like, they have it all figured it out. No. Well, it's the up and down, like you said, you find it, you don't find it, you find it, you don't find it.
I just realized this was
I just So yeah, that's funny you say that, because that's how I kind of feel like we are. Like we found it right now, but I know down the road we're gonna lose it for a little while, and it's gonna be hard.
good. Yeah. Well,
And in the process, though, as you study what comes up, right? You really look at it, you investigate it, you work it, all of those different kinds of things. And then when the cycle comes back around, and when you get it back, now it's richer and it's deeper, kind of thing. And it's a constant process doctors use in order to, and psychiatrists use to define mental illness. I forget what the
it's like a number and
whatever it is.
something.
There's a diagnostic manual,
Yes.
whatever it is, and they were putting in that there's like an appropriate amount of time to grieve. To grieve.
I'm on shutdown mode, so I'm sorry. I can't.
When someone has died, right? That if you, and they want to give people whatever, mood enhancing drugs because a person is depressed because their loved one died, and it's 6 months or it's 3 months and you should get over it now, it's like move on. It's like, really? Grief is now a disease?
Yeah.
And just looking at that, how about letting a person move through it? Native Americans said that for 1 year, a person was considered crazy. When someone
Whatever
close
they
to them
did
died,
didn't matter. It didn't count.
or you couldn't count it against them, and they should not be allowed to make
Well, this
any
when you
major
lost like
changes.
your mother, your father,
you
you
know.
lost somebody major like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and that you were not considered responsible for your actions, and that they were encouraged not to make those kinds of. We're encouraged not to make big decisions because you're not yourself. It takes time to move through that, and here we are saying, well, we'll just medicate that away. It's been a month.
You're robbing them.
You've a woman I work with, her stepdad who raised her passed away, and 3 days later she's back at work, and she's trying to do all this stuff, and she's apologizing for not being here. It's like, stop.
I hate the apology for it.
Stop. It's bad enough that you're here, that's the way our society is structured. You only get paid for so many days, and the other days you're not paid for, but don't be apologizing for this. It's okay to be in that place. We have our own way of metabolizing whatever these things are. So we have this, I agree with you, this culture that wants to medicate everybody into some neutral place, and that you shouldn't be down, and shouldn't be too happy either.
We're afraid of each other's feelings.
If
We
you're
get
too happy and
embarrassed.
too positive, you have alternative motives.
Yeah. And we're embarrassed of each other's emotions.
Exactly.
We're very cold in at least our Western society, I guess, of just somebody's crying and it's like, how embarrassing. It's crazy.
Or we want to stop it.
Or stop it. Get yourself together.
What can I do? What can I do?
Yeah, we had a woman at work. She was probably your guys' age, and she had a nice little minivan. There was like a business name on the side, had her own business. It was 12 o'clock at night at the airport, and this lady walks in and says, I'm here for a flight. So I also work for the FBO. Planes come in, people get picked up, private jets and all that stuff. And I think, okay, she's at the wrong side of the airport because I don't have anything on my schedule. So I explained the other side. She's like, no, I'm just looking for a flight. I'm like, okay, so you don't have a flight coming in to get you? And she's like, no, I'm just trying to get out of here. And then I start talking to her, and I start to realize she's talking to herself, and she'll hear a word and she'll break off into a song from like the 60s or something. And then somebody would say something, she'd, don't call me dumb, like she's talking to an ex-husband or something. And then we find out she came from a dinner party with some friends, and it probably was a mediocre dinner party, and she didn't want to go home, and she hadn't talked to her kids in a while, and I talked to this woman for 2 hours on the couch there, thinking maybe I could say something, maybe I could do something, because I was into all this stuff. I was into this kind of thinking. I was trying to be a good person, and we had to close the doors, and one of the other guys, I didn't want to, but he, what do? He called the cops. They sent a police car and an ambulance, and I'm clocking out, and I'm driving, getting in my car, and they got her outside, and right as I'm leaving, I looked out the window, and they're pushing her on the gurney into the back of the ambulance, and the first thing that comes to my head is, oh my God, we're cleaning this person up, we're cleaning her up. It's kind of like, we're all doing our thing in our society, doing our jobs, we're holding it together, and she's buckled under the same pressures. And we don't want to see that. So it's almost like in a futuristic movie where someone spills and a door opens and a robot comes out and cleans it up and goes back in. And I'm seeing the cops and the paramedics as this cleanup crew for someone who couldn't handle it. And it made me want to throw up. The fact that we have a button to push to clean people who have lost it up. I don't know what happened there. I took a picture on my phone. I don't know. I don't remember her name. What is wrong to where we're dropping people like this? They're just dropping like flies.
We have to make a decision and a deeper kind of thing.
Have you ever heard of Peace Program?
Yes.
The American Gandhi walked across the country several times, up and down, all around. And she said that if somebody solves a problem for you, they rob you of that growth. Problem is just a chance for growth. So if you have some problem, somebody gives you a pill for it, and it just mellows you out, and you just live that way, then you are missing out for that growth. And it might start as the most horrible thing you could ever think of. But if you can overcome it, then you will, of course, be a better person in most cases. And we have a culture of who do I call to solve this problem for me? I listened to this one talk of a claimed to be spiritual teacher. There's a lot of different teachers, I guess, but he did talks and everything. And there was a woman who was talking, who was crying, asking the question. I feel like I'm about to shift into something, and I'm worried that I won't be a good mom because things are changing for me. My goals are going to completely switch, and she was sincerely worried that she wouldn't be able to be that, almost like the world we live in requires some aggression, some egotistical to live, to survive. It's like a dog-eat-dog world, and she was just worried that she wouldn't be able to be a good mom. And he basically said, enlightenment and what you may or may not be on the verge of, there are no promises. You could gain nothing from it. You can actually experience something negative. You could laugh, you could think it's funny, but I can't give you that. If you're here for answers to questions, then there's not much I could really do for you. You have to just go over the hill, I guess. You just gotta go over the edge. That's what I figured. That's why I kept listening. It's almost like until you learn about it or walk around and find it, you won't know how to deal with it. You won't know what it is. It's alien to you.
You don't find it finds you.
Yeah.
It finds you. It has to find you. And that's the way it works out. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And it doesn't work the other way around. You yourself have to be ready. When that time happens, and then you get to that point,
and that serendipity happens,
then boom, it all falls in line. It's just the walk that has been done for thousands and thousands of years here. It's just how it works, and that's the advantage of it, is that it can do that. Once that place in you starts waking up, you start realizing, hey, there is more to life than this. Oh my God, what am I gonna do?
That kind of happened to me too when I was living on the sailboat. I found myself not turning my engine on. I found myself just liking the challenge of sailing in and out, actually being afraid of the engine because I felt like it could fail me at any moment because I didn't fully understand it. I understood the sails, I understood the wind, and I'd come in and out, sail in and out, and people were like, wow, you're crazy, all this stuff that felt natural to me. Then I came across Lynn and Larry Pardee, the people that inspired us, and I was kind of like, and they were engineless wooden boat sailors. So after I've already come into that kind of thinking, these people emerged.
Sure.
And it was like, well, I'm off. You know, I'm off running with it now. And it was just cool. It was like right at the right time. And like Mike McCarthy, my instructor, taught me how to sail right at before I ruined my life.
When you were ready.
Yeah, before I ended up in something that I wasn't meant to do.
It's just an amazing process. You know, we've heard stories left and right, and they're very similar to yours. You know, when you are ready, then it appears.
Yeah.
It is always a joy to listen to these stories and to just find out the different perspectives that are out there from different folks. Well, what they did, how they achieved whatever it is that they achieved, and also what did you do with it? Up until around the 50s, 60s, around that era. Before that, if somebody went out and sought a master or went to a mystery school or attended any of this stuff, in real learning, you know, you would go, you would learn, and then you would take that and you would become a monk in a mountain somewhere, and you would spend your whole time up there, and people would come to you or whatever, or not. You know, and that's what you would do with it. But now, since we've had these huge changes, what we're finding is a lot of people are going to, they're finding the mystery schools, the teachers, whatever, they're taking this knowledge, and instead of going up into the mountains, now that people are coming back and are bringing it back here.
The world teachers. Yeah.
Carmela is one of those world teachers.
Yeah.
She's the one that takes this and takes it into the Fortune 100 companies and to talk to people in these big and powerful positions and explain it in a way that, because language is always what it's about, right? It's not what you're saying, it's how you say it, you know? So if I can say a concept, an idea, a theory that for most people would be foo-foo or new age, but if I can take that and language that in a way that is more digestible in the corporate world, now I've got a tool. Now I've got something that's very powerful. And that's something that has been lacking for a very, very long time. It's only been 10 years or so that this real push, this movement of taking this language of new age, of spiritual development, of all of these different things, and start to moving that to more mainstream. Smuggling donkeys.
Smuggling donkeys.
And she will tell you that story.
That's the term.
Really? I like the name.
But I'm going to need you to put some stuff away for me.
Yes,
So
I will.
please tell the story, and I need your help.
Okay.
We can help.
So Nusra Hadin is a Sufi master, and he's a storyteller. And so the Sufis are the mystical part of the Muslim religion.
Okay.
And he told a story about how every day he would put a pack on a donkey, and he would take this donkey and he would cross over from this city to this city. And to do this, there was always a guard there who would always be, you know, okay, what's in the bags? They would go through the whole thing and check what was in the bag every single day. And Nusra Hadin would go over to this part of the city in the morning, and then at nighttime he would come back over this part of the city. And every time the guard would stop him, checking the bags, and all these things were.
Did this for 40 years.
And then finally the guard was going to retire. He said, "You have to tell me. I knew you have been smuggling something all of these years, and I can't do anything about it. I'm retiring. You know, it's free and clear, but you got to tell me, because this is just making me crazy. What have you been smuggling?" And Nusra Hadin says, "Donkeys."
From the packs.
So for me, what I do is I smuggle donkeys.
Yeah.
I'm talking about this, but when I'm bringing in this other thing through a doorway that doesn't set off alarms, and yet they get it. They get it with their heart. They get it with their minds, and they start showing up in a different way, which makes people freak out. It's like, what's with this guy? It's
That
like
is
he's-
brilliant, because I'm not good at that. We're falling off.
frontal assault.
You are changing it from the bloodstream.
What did you just light up?
Yeah, I love it. I love it because it's all different people. I get very passionate.
I can see that.
Yeah. Some people, you know, go do crazy things, and it's like the shock factor.
Yep.
And then some people, you don't even notice they're doing it, and everyone around them just ends up being better people.
That's right.
Yes, and people
And
will
it's
say
beautiful.
that. How come these teams work so well? How come no one fights over here? How come this stuff happens? How come we're always laughing and having a good time? How come whatever? It's just, you know, and it's not like manipulating anyone. I'm just asking questions in a particular way. I'm showing up in a particular way. I'm responding to conflict in a particular way. And it just influences how they do stuff, and they start picking up skills that they didn't think they could use. And then they discover they can. And then that ripples through. In one of the guys that I was coaching, a finance director, and I was coaching him and working with him. There's a particular book I recommend to people that I coach called Change Your Questions, Change Your Life, which is a very simple way of people getting the point that their assumptions are the filter through which they see the world, and it makes what's possible and impossible. And so the way the story is told, people really, really get it. And so this guy, one of the things I was telling him, I said, you need to find someone local who you can talk to about these things, because yes, you can talk to me, but you need a partner to help you, you know, work on the things that you say that you want to work on, and someone to help hold you accountable, so that, you know, someone can say, hey, come on, you said you were going to do this a little differently, man, that's not what you did. So, you know, you have to do that. And so he gave this guy the book for this guy to read, so they'd at least be speaking the same language. And the guy came back from the weekend after reading the book, and he says, oh my God, I think my people are afraid of me. I said, beautiful. So what did you tell him? Well, you know, when we started, I said, what a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
For somebody to get it. I mean, the book doesn't talk about people being afraid of you or anything else,
Doesn't say
but
that.
what he saw about the way he was behaving, and then the dots got together and he got it, and now he has a partner who he can talk to about it. Now, does that mean that they never yell at their people? No. Does that mean? No. But the door's open, and a possibility is now present where there wasn't one before, and it just does that.
Yeah, it's amazing. You just by reading something else, you gain the capacity to see things in a different light, which becomes your new filter, and you can start acting accordingly. We noticed that just from watching ourselves on film. Like, oh, I like that. I love that about myself. I hate that about myself. You know, why am I doing that? Or, you know,
why do I do that?
my posture sucks. You know.